It's very sad.
Still sad.
Hegan, Kogan, and A10, and we are now in the Great Depression. We went over the causes of it, just as a quick reminder here. You know, you can remember this in terms of wows. Wages did not keep up with prices, the overproduction, weak banks, and stock market crash. You know, of course, in our previous lesson, we talked about how historians had a variety of different causes, certain elections, certain people in certain positions, but, you know, for all intents and purposes, here are your big ones. Now, as Hoover gets into office, this is a funny quote considering how everything goes.
This is almost like that.
Or a not funny quote.
The head of the patent office in 1892.
Man, you read my mind.
Who said anything can be invented has been invented.
Yeah.
What an idiot.
Famous last words kind of thing?
Yeah.
Or,
yes.
You know, a harbinger of bad things to come?
You know, talk about Herbert Hoover, and it's just funny how, like, becoming president ruined his career.
Yeah.
You know, dude was like a national hero. World War I.
Food will win the war.
Yeah, like, and then he just becomes president and ignored all of these warning signs. Just didn't pay attention to him. He had been warned by some of his economic advisors, and he's like, nah, we're good.
So you put it on him?
Yeah, I do.
I think I'm a little bit nicer. I think I'm a little bit nicer. I don't think all of this should fall on one person. Is this thing on? Is this thing on?
No, I mean, you're the captain of the ship.
If things are going well, yeah, I get it. You get credit for it. Everything's going well. If things are going bad, then yeah, it's definitely your baby.
Success has many fathers, but failure is an orphan.
It's an orphan. Yeah.
You know, so
It is tragic though how, you know, here he was, food will win the war. He helped a lot of these countries as well with relief programs in Europe after World War One. You know, he is flying high and
he's the hero of World War One.
Yeah, he's
because World War One was one of those rare wars that don't give us a military leader.
Right.
Revolution gave us Washington.
Right.
War of 1812, Jackson.
Yep.
Ulysses S. Grant, Civil War. You know, Teddy Roosevelt. You know, World War One, Pershing doesn't become anything.
So then how about how the economy is always going to do this though? You don't buy into that?
Oh, no, I do.
Okay.
The economy is going to go up, it's going to go down regardless of who's in office, which is why when people try to tout a presidential candidate that they back, oh, look at what the economy did. It goes up and down. But he could have really prevented it from going down. Like, he ignored a lot of the warning signs and the Depression was going to be bad no matter what.
Yeah, exactly.
But he really could have, I don't know,
Tempered certain stuff. I think, you know, when you look at him, here's a better picture of him.
Yeah, we'll get into the certain things he
doesn't
tried.
really look like he has much of a personality, I guess you could say. But I mean, while we're here, in terms of background, you know, graduated from Stanford. He was a mining engineer. You know, if you look at resumes, I don't think you really have anybody more qualified than him at the time.
No, you don't.
Head of the Food Administration, you know, after World War I, again, encouraging food shipments to go over to Europe, Secretary of Commerce. I mean, you know, check every single box. He's got everything.
Yep.
But then, you know, he gets into office. You know, we've conquered poverty. That's it. And then we get to the Depression. And these first couple of pictures are, you know, I'm going to tell you a little bit rough to look at. I'll tell you that. You found this one.
Yep. The days after the stock market crashed, people literally lost everything. You had your entire savings, retirement savings, everything invested in the stock market. You were mortgaged to the tilt.
Yeah.
You know, because it was like, oh, I got the stock tip. Oh, I don't have enough. Oh, fine. Just buy it on margin.
Yep.
You know, and then boom, you went from like the lap of luxury, Fifth Avenue penthouse to the outhouse overnight. What's his name? I almost said Karl Marx. Groucho Marx.
Yes, he's one of them.
You know, famous.
Yes, that's right.
Famous Hollywood actor. You know, millionaire, lost everything.
Yep.
You know, I equate it to the Wilpons.
Yeah.
You know, in the Bernie Madoff scandal. You know, you guys don't know what we're talking about there, but, you know, a billionaire family who invested very poorly. They don't lose everything.
Right.
Unfortunately, they got to
enough.
keep the Mets.
Yeah. They invested enough.
Yeah.
Though.
So this is a stockbroker. This is, I don't know, we don't know, I forget the story behind him specifically, but he's about to jump.
And he does.
He lost everything, And as the stock market crashed, as the stock market fell, so did many people jumping off of buildings.
And this
skyscrapers
is,
in New York City.
when you know that there's one picture, you know that there were other ones, it just was a photograph.
Yes.
But this gentleman, unfortunately, wasn't the only one that wound up taking his life.
Yep.
A permanent answer, I guess, to a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Yes.
When you're looking at suicide,
Yep.
how devastating that is. But again, when you're getting into the effects, the one thing that is in the background, you're getting into people's lives being ruined, people taking their own lives, but now you're going to see more and more poverty.
Yep.
And unfortunately for him, you would think that Hoover was going to be the perfect guy to be in this situation. A lot of the things or his shortcomings was his inability to communicate. He really didn't really give people hope. He didn't say better times were ahead. I mean, not that that's going to help situations. However, this was the guy, if you were depressed, this wasn't going to be the guy I would say you would go to make you feel better.
And a lot of it has to do with his background.
Yeah.
He was a conservative. He believed in a hands-off approach to the economy. He believed in people pulling themselves up by the bootstrap, not letting the government get involved in your lives. And unfortunately, this was a time where the government had to get involved and regulate things. And
so when we get into historian surveys of rankings of how presidents are, again, when you're looking at the top 5 or top 10, you see some consistency depending on the poll. Washington, Lincoln, FDR, Theodore Roosevelt. Now, interestingly enough, the president that's going to come after Hoover is in the top 3, FDR. So where does that put where does that put Herbert Hoover? Not at the bottom, but very, very close. I mean, very close. I almost want to say this is probably generous, possibly.
Yeah.
All things considered, and maybe that they factor in what he did before he became president.
Yeah.
I don't know what the thought process is there, but again, when you're looking at certain presidents, here you have Lincoln is at the top, and the president was before him was James Buchanan is the worst. So, you often see crises develop.
I'm glad you brought that up because, when you look at responding to crises, Civil War, greatest president, Great Depression, World War II, third greatest president, crises, Civil War, the issue of slavery, Buchanan, Reconstruction Johnson, Pierce, slavery, Harding, also, the Roaring '20s, Great Depression, where we got into his scandals. Tyler, loser. William Henry Harrison, bad rival, only president for 40 days. Something like that.
I mean, there is, where you see some horrible presidents, ranking wise, who didn't really, I guess you could say, meet the expectations. You do see have these glimmers of hope or these stars that emerge out of this. So with Hoover, he gets into office, thinks poverty is going to end, and then all of a sudden the Depression starts. And when you look at the unemployment levels, there are a lot of things that actually determine, or a lot of things that economists or politicians might use to indicate if the economy is doing poorly or if it's doing well. But the one big thing is also the unemployment numbers. So when we look here, I guess you couldn't
under 2% in 26.
Right. You couldn't almost blame them for saying that. Why not?
We had high unemployment here because we talked about that little slump after World War II.
Yep.
All those GIs coming home, regular workers being laid off, replaced by the soldiers returning home. But the Roaring '20s were doing great.
Yeah.
1929. October, market crashes. Within 2 years,
boom,
we're up near 25%. And this is the unemployment rate. This isn't counting what I call the underemployment rate. People who were working 40 hours a week, who are now only working 30 hours, 20 hours.
Right.
They have a job technically, but our unemployment and underemployment rate during the Great Depression is close to 50% when you combine the two.
Wow.
1 out of every 2 people were affected economically by the Great Depression. And I'm sorry, kids today, you could almost relate to this if you were paying attention during COVID. Because when COVID first struck in March, and our airline industries, our travel industries, our restaurants, our hospitality industries, everything was shut down. Our unemployment rate jumped to the highest rate it had been since the Great Depression. I think we were close to 15%.
think, yeah.
You know, I think it was actually even a little bit higher than that.
Sure.
At one point back in like May,
And
June
we hadn't
of
seen
2020.
those numbers since
the
around-
Great Depression.
Yeah. So that's staggering. I mean, because when you're getting into, you're saying bringing up 15%. I mean, look at this. I mean, you're 2 years into the depression
Yeah.
at this point at 31. You're right near there, which is that's not good.
Now, why? Why? Okay, well, that overproduction. Warehouses are packed to the gills of whatever those consumer products of the Roaring Twenties were.
Sure.
You don't need to produce refrigerators, cars, you name it.
Yep.
Okay, well, we overproduced. Our warehouses are full. I don't need you on the assembly line. Here's your pink slip.
Yep.
You know, you're being laid off, and make sure you understand the difference between being laid off and being fired.
Right. They didn't do anything wrong. It's just, hey, we don't have work for you.
We don't
anymore.
need you anymore.
We don't need you anymore.
Now, okay, I'm not making money. That whole effect. I don't have money in my pocket. I've got to start saving. I stop spending. Businesses start laying off more and more workers.
And when you're getting into the desperation of how desperate people were
Yeah.
for work, you know, this one, work is what I want. I don't want charity. Who will help me? You know, when you're looking at the fact that this guy has a sign that's saying that I am employable, here, call for references and everything, you know, it's difficult to wrap your head around how, at what point do you do this? And you also have to think, you know, what else did this guy try to do before he came to this desperate point?
Not only that, we're also in a time where students might think today, well, don't we have protections against unemployment? Don't we have unemployment insurance? Today we do.
Yes.
Today you get laid off, the government will intervene and you are provided unemployment insurance for X amount of months or years or whatever it is. Nothing.
Nothing.
You don't have a job, you don't have money.
That's it.
And we both show that scene from Cinderella Man,
Ugh.
where he goes down to the dock and he's like, I need 5 guys, and
Right.
there's 50 guys there.
Begging,
You know,
fighting.
just like one, boom, boom, boom.
Right.
And you got a job for the day.
For the day.
I don't know if you put it in here. Oh, I have a great picture of a guy standing in front of a Rolls Royce trying to sell it. He's like lost everything in the crash. Rolls Royce available for like $200, which I'm sure was a decent amount of money back then.
Right. But you're still not going to get what, I mean, because who could afford it?
Yeah.
Very, very few people afford it, and whatever you paid for it, you know, you'll never see that
Yeah.
again. But I mean, these are more and more,
Common sign.
yeah,
Common sign.
more and more images that are familiar with the Depression is the amount of people who are broke. You did see certain communities kind of get involved where you had soup lines. Here they're offering free soup, coffee for the unemployed, and you can see the line is just, and you got to remember.
And you're very
Yeah.
different looking from what you would see at like a homeless shelter today.
Yeah.
You know, these are people who were nice clothes.
Yep.
You know, who were fully employed days, weeks, months prior. Now have lost everything.
And you don't want to be on this line.
Nope.
I almost feel like some of them were probably, if somebody was taking a picture, their faces did not want to be seen or
Nope.
recognized in this one. When we're looking at some hard times, just to put some notes together, you know, the stock market crash ruins investors, as we looked at. Without capital or money, businesses can no longer grow and expand. So a lot of these businesses were completely done. Was there a process such as laying off workers, cutting their hours? Yeah. You do whatever you can to kind of stay in business, similar to, you know, a COVID scenario where, you know, you didn't have the ability as a restaurant to allow people to dine in. So you have to kind of shift gears as a business. Okay, so now we are in the business of now delivering. You can come and pick up. You have to adapt as a business, and a lot of them did that before they said, okay, we're done.
I got a buddy who owns a restaurant in Northport.
Yep.
You know, and during COVID, he had to lay off all of his staff except his cook. So it was him and his cook, and he was the one actually delivering the food
Right.
to people. You know, just to stay afloat. Luckily, he survived.
And these are restaurant owners
Yeah.
that are looking at their workers going, you know, it's not a simple decision.
No, it's not.
You know, because you know that as an owner of a restaurant, when you're looking at 20 people and you're like, look, I can't keep you. They know, you know, we all get up in the morning and we all want to do our job and we love it. But at the end of the day, you have to put money in your pocket and you have to take care of families. And when we're looking at how desperate and how bad this is, you know, nobody took joy in telling this guy that, hey, we don't have work for you.
And this is such a proud time.
It is.
You know, and kids today were like, well, I would just go to, I don't care, you know, but it's different.
Yes, you do.
Yeah,
you do.
It's this proud time. I mean, these are the guys who fought in World War One.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of them. Right. You know, they've come home, they've started families. You know, they fought in the trenches, and here they are, and it's miserable.
It is. We mentioned that businesses try to stay in business. You know, banks, as we're going to cover in a separate lesson, are really going to be hurt. Factories cut back on production, they cut wages, laid off workers, did whatever they could to stay in business before they finally had to declared bankruptcy where they were unable to pay off debts. Very, very difficult time. We missed anything here?
No, I'm just
Yeah, okay.
miserable now.
Horrible way to start the day.
I know, like, I just.
Ugh. Well, you know what? You know what though? There were good Disney movies that came out of this to kind of pick up people's spirits, so we can end on a positive note. Was it Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs came out?
The
princesses and whatnot.
Cinderella.
Okay, we're gonna stop right there.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
He must watch Cinderella.
I did not.